Okay, so today we're at Utopia Games. It's a big regionals tournament for the Mirror Cup. It's a mirrored regionals cup. About 70 people RSVP'd, and I'm expecting maybe like 65, 60 people. So it's going to be a long tournament nonetheless. There's a big, huge purse. First place gets $350, second place gets $250, third place $150, $50 after that, and then $10 after that. So a very sizable amount considering that Pokemon Go PvP hasn't really gained as much traction. It's mainly just people that love Pokemon Go PvP, but this is another incentive to come out and check out Pokemon Go and get good at it. Especially with how Pokemon Go was happening at Pokemon Worlds in DC. Congratulations, King, by the way. Yeah, I'm super excited. I brought a whole car with me, and we're about to get this tournament going. And shout out to Raid44 for hosting these tournaments. Last time I got 10th place or something, 6th place or something like that. Got like $10, which is totally cool. Anything and everything is super appreciated. They also hook it up with food. So those guys right there, they hook it up with food as well. So looking forward to this tournament. Hopefully I do well. Maybe I can take that $350. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so we're getting the tournament started. I'm matched up against Kujo So Pudgy. Alright, we're matched up in the first round. It seems like it's going to go 6 rounds with as many people that we have. And yeah, let's see how we do. Okay, so getting into this first battle against Kujo So Pudgy, I see that he has a Gallade and he has a Swampert. So I kind of automatically decide to bring in Tropius because he has 3 Pokemon that are going to be weak to my Tropius in Gallade, Lantern, and Swampert, and even Medicham, so make that 4 Pokemon. And also I decide to bring in Skarmory to counter his Medicham and his Gallade in case my Tropius goes down to one of the other Pokemon. And as my 3rd Pokemon, I decide to bring in a Lantern. Lantern's mainly there to counter his Skarmory in case he switches into Skarmory against my Tropius. So I actually think I lead off with Skarmory instead. So again, it's Skarmory, Lantern, and Tropius. Let's see how I do. Alright, so getting right into this battle against Kujo So Pudgy. I am going to lead off with Skarmory. He leads off with Swampert. So this is actually a positive matchup for him because he gets to his Hydrocans much faster than I get to my Sky attacks. So he actually baits me with Muddy Water. So now I know he doesn't have an Earthquake. So Muddy Water Hydrocan is probably the moveset he's going to be running. So I get my first Sky attack off. He decides to block that. Now I decide not to block this one, Muddy Water. As you can see, not that much damage, but he did get me to get my attack down. So that was a positive for him by using Muddy Water. Now he's going to get another charge move off and use another Muddy Water. So I decide not to block that, and I bring in my Tropius. Whatever he gets off on me is not going to deal very effective damage, so no need to shield. Muddy Water. He decides to switch into his own Tropius. I get an Aerial Ace off. He decides to let that go because he has no more shields. Actually, he has no more shields. He's going to get a charge move off, and this is probably going to be Aerial Ace. Yep, I blocked it. So at this point, I farm a little bit, get this Leaf Blade off. This should be enough to knock him out. And it is. And he sends out Lantern. This is a bad matchup, but I do have energy stored up, and my Tropius is pretty much down already. So I get that Leaf Blade. Actually, this is a positive matchup. And he gets a charge move off. I have no more shield, but my Tropius is almost dead. So that's fine. I send out my own Lantern. He just wasted all his energy, so this will be a good matchup for me. I don't know what he was doing, maybe trying to charge up some energy, but I get my Thunderbolt off. He has no more shields, knock out his Lantern. He has a Swampert left. Now he is going to get this Earthquake off on me, and this is going to knock out my Lantern.
Oh no, actually he has no Earthquake because he's running Muddy Water instead. So that's actually positive for me. I get a few more attacks off on him. He gets another charge move off, another Hydro Cannon. But this might... Okay, he gets a couple more moves off on me. I was trying to get that Thunderbolt, but not enough. Bringing out my Skarmory, and he had just enough to get another charge move off. Hydro Cannon knocks out my Skarmory. GG. Okay, so knowing what I know now is that his Swampert is running Muddy Water Hydro Cannon. So my Lantern is not afraid of his Swampert because I can get those water guns down and it will do neutral damage, and also my Hydro Pump will deal neutral damage as well as resisting all of Swampert's charge moves. But those Mud Shots are still going to be dealing super effective damage, but Mud Shot doesn't do that much damage, so that's an okay matchup. It's a good switch off, I guess. So what I decided to do is I'm going to lead with Medicham, bring in my Tropius and Lantern. The reason why Medicham in the lead is because if he leads Skarmory, I have a good matchup. Lantern, I have a good matchup. Swampert, I have a good matchup. Neutral matchup against Medicham. I kind of think it's a neutral matchup. I'll do okay at least against Gallade, and if I can at least burn some shields against Tropius. So that's my reasoning behind picking that team. Let's see how I do. Okay, so getting right into the battle, lead off with Medicham. He leads off with Skarmory. Like I mentioned before, if I burn 2 shields, I should be able to win this matchup. I'm going to get my Dynamic Punch off first, and my Medicham is a perfect Medicham, so I don't think... I'm betting that his Skarmory does not hit the bulk point, so I go ahead and block the Sky Attack. Now, I am expecting him to either switch or block this next Power-Up Punch. And he does block that Power-Up Punch, and he's probably going to try to get another Sky Attack off, which he does, and I'm going to block it. Now at this point I should just hit him with counters, but I had already queued my Power-Up Punch and knocked out his Skarmory. But I do have a powered up Medicham. He does have a shield advantage, but I have switch advantage. So he brings out Swampert, and I get a few counters off, and I do get my Power-Up Punch to go off. And it draws his last shield. And he's just going to try to farm me, but he does decide to use a charge move at the last second. Now, I have very little health, but he does get Muddy Water off on me. I'm going to bring in my Tropius, and this is a good matchup. Whatever he has is going to deal not very effective damage to me. Hydro Cannon, not very effective damage. I'm just going to farm him down at this point. He's going to get another charge move off, another Hydro Cannon. I'm going to just farm him down. And now I have a ton of energy going to the last Pokemon. It's a Lantern. Get this Leaf Blade off. I have enough energy to get another Leaf Blade off, so I'm going to get that off. And Lantern takes a while to charge up to a Thunderbolt, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to get to another Leaf Blade, but I go ahead and switch into Lantern just to knock him out.
Last one.
Last round.
Alright, yeah, so it looks like we're going into a third battle, so really good competition here today.
Alright, getting into this last battle against Kujo So Pudgy, trying to figure out what he's going to lead with, but I'm looking at his team. Maybe 4 out of his 6 Pokemon are going to fall to Lapras, so I'm going to go ahead and lead with Lapras. I know he's running a double water moveset on his Swampert, so Lapras can just tank those and is going to be dealing neutral damage back to Swampert, so I think that's a positive matchup. And to protect my Lapras against Medicham, I decided to bring in my Tropius, because Tropius can counter Medicham, and to protect my Tropius, I bring in Lantern in case he does bring in Skarmory. So that's the team I go with. Let's see how I do. Alright, getting right into the battle. I lead off with Lapras, he leads off with Swampert. So like I mentioned, I know he's running a double water moveset, so this Lapras should have a positive matchup. So he's going to be throwing a water type move, so not very effective damage, don't need to block it. I go ahead and use a Surf, and this is going to be dealing neutral damage, but he does decide to block it. He gets another charge move off right here. Again, whatever it is, not very effective damage. Plus, Lapras is a pretty tanky Pokemon, but he does get the attack down debuff on my Lapras. So this Surf would be dealing a lot more damage if it weren't debuffed. But he decides to let that go. He gets another charge move off right here. A Hydro Cannon, not very effective damage, and I'm trying to get to this Surf right here, and I do. So he's either going to let this faint or burn 2 shields, and that's fine with me. He decides to let that faint. He brings in Medicham, but my last Lapras was already low on health. 1 counter knocks it out. Bring in my Tropius. He's going to get a charge move off. I don't think he had enough energy to get off an Ice Punch, or I don't think he was going to, but he did. Luckily, I didn't use my Aerial Ace, and I switched into my Lantern as soon as he switched into his Skarmory. So I have Aerial Ace charged up in the back, and Lantern versus Skarmory. This is a great matchup for me. Pretty much I can just farm and farm. He does get a little bit of lag right here, but you'll see it doesn't really matter for me because I knock him out either way. And watch this. Apparently I touched Hydro Pump, and yeah, all that extra energy that I built up was just wasted. He brings out Medicham, and I'm really close to Thunderbolt right here, but I don't get to it, and I decide to shield this Power Up Punch because I want to burn that last shield. He does decide to burn his last shield, and I switch into Tropius right away, use this Aerial Ace, and I missed a bubble, and that may have costed me, but luckily I did have that shield, so I go ahead and shield up, and that will be GG.
Alright, man. GG's. Those were great games, man. It was a really close game against this guy right here. Great battles. Really good usage of your 2 moves on that one Pokemon. I don't want to say it out loud, but like really good usage of that. Got you the win on the first battle. And yeah, good luck with the rest of the tournament, man. You too, man. All right, so I'm here with Gourmet Mucho. We actually drove him here, and we got matched up in round 2 of this tournament. And yeah, both 1 and 0.
Yep.
All right, man. Good luck with the
best man win.
Alright, so getting into the second round against Gourmet Mucho, like I mentioned a second ago, I actually did drive him to the tournament along with a few of my other buddies. But anyways, looking at his team, he has a pretty meta team. The Pokemon that I am most worried about is probably going to be Sableye and Probopass. Otherwise, we have a pretty mirrored team. So the thing is, the majority of the time when people use Sableye, they're going to lead with it. Just because Sableye is kind of squishy, it requires shields. So I decided to bring in a Azumarill, and to protect my Azumarill, I decided to bring in my Skarmory because his main counter to my Azumarill would be Tropius. Probopass will take a Hydro Pump and it will lose that, so it's not as hard of a counter. And to protect my Skarmory, I decide to bring in Lantern. And the reason why I bring in Lantern is just because it counters his Azumarill and also counters his Skarmory. And it can also do good work against his Probopass. So yeah, let's see how I do. Alright, jumping right into the battle. And I am going to lead off with Azumarill, and like I predicted, he leads off with Sableye. So this is a positive matchup for me, other than in the 2 shield scenario, which I learned today when practice battling Valarash. But anyways, he uses Power Gem. I decide to let that go. I'm gonna get this Play Rough off, and if he doesn't block it, it deals super effective damage. He does decide to block it, and he gets a second charge move off right here. And I'm gonna block this one because another Power Gem would near knock me out. He sends out Tropius, and luckily it's using Air Slash, so I can take a few hits. I bring in my Skarmory to counter his Tropius like I predicted again. I'm just gonna farm him, but I don't want him to get to another charge move if I can prevent it. So I go ahead and get this sky attack off, and it's gonna deal super effective damage, but I was able to farm one more air slash, and now he's going to be bringing in his Sableye. So he didn't bring his Probopass, so I know that. He's going to take that sky attack and block it. Now I have a shield left, and I decide to use it right here. In hindsight, maybe I should have saved it, but I didn't know what he really had in the back, and maybe it was a Medicham, so I wanted to preserve it. But he gets a foul play off and knocks out my Skarmory anyways. I bring in my Lantern, charge up a little bit of energy. He brings in Azumarill. So Azumarill versus Lantern, this is a bad matchup for him, especially since he has no more shields. I'm going to get this Thunderbolt off. It's not going to KO Azumarill just because of how tanky it is, but he's going to get a charge move off. Now, whatever it is, I can take one hit. So he uses Hydro Pump, not very effective damage. And I'm going to get to this Thunderbolt, and this is going to be GG.
So that was the first battle. I was able to pull it off, but we'll see how it goes the second round. There's always second battle, man. You never know. You can always pull this apart, pull this off. It's happened.
Yeah,
all right.
come next season.
All right.
Okay, so getting into this second battle against Gourmet Moon, I decided to go with the same team again. I feel like I read his team pretty well, and I think it's up to him to make the adjustments. So let's see how it goes. Jumping right into the battle, I lead off with Azumarill. He leads off with Medicham. This is a positive matchup for me, especially since I have Play Rough. If I hit one Play Rough, it will deal significant damage. So I'm expecting a power up punch right here, and it is. And I'm gonna get a Play Rough off, and he's probably going to shield this, knowing that it's gonna deal significant damage. Yep, he blocks it. So he charges up and uses another charge move. Again, I think it's a power up punch. Not very effective damage. He switches into Probopass. I don't really have a solid answer to it, but I do get this Hydro Pump off. And I think it catches him off guard. He wasn't expecting it. And so I bring in my Lantern right after, because I know I need to preserve my Azumarill for his Medicham. So he goes ahead and brings out Tropius against my Lantern. I do get this Thunderbolt off, and if he doesn't block it, it's going to deal significant neutral damage to it, and he doesn't. He gets a charge move off right here. I decide not to block it because I know his team now. He doesn't have a Skarmory, so I don't really need this Lantern. So he gets another Leaf Blade off, and I just decide to let it go and burn his energy. So I bring in my Skarmory. And so this is a positive matchup. He switches right away, and he gets a charge move off. I decide to block this because at this point his Medicham is kind of powered up, and I wanted to preserve that Skarmory. So I get my Azumarill back in to absorb some damage. He gets another charge move off right here, and I decide to block it. It's an Ice Punch. Would dealt significant damage. I go ahead and get Play Rough off. He does have one shield, and he is going to block it. And so just going back and forth, he gets another charge move off, and luckily he did burn that energy on my Azumarill, probably worried that I was going to get another charge move off. Now I used my Sky Attack right away, and I think this was a mistake. I should not have done that, but it's okay, because it's Tropius versus Skarmory. This is GG's right here. He's gonna get Aerial Ace off, but that's it.
GG, man. Good game. So I was able to pull off round 2.
Yeah, the unique moveset, man. You threw me off. I didn't expect that, honestly.
I was able to surprise, but sometimes that surprise moveset, it's only a best of 3, right? So one battle is halfway there. So
yeah, once I read your first move, I was like, he can't be running the other move. So I was like, it's not gonna do that much damage that I'll be able to to survive it. That's why I felt a comfortable switch in, which I think the first match I probably shouldn't have switched out. Probably
I mean, it's always a matter of like, oh, in hindsight, everything's 2020, right? So I shouldn't have done that, but I did do it because at that time I was thinking a certain way. All right, so third round, I'm facing off against Kanako. Seen him plenty of times before. We've gotten the better of each other back and forth, so this should be a really good battle. So let's see how I do.
Alright, so looking at Kanako's team, I see that he's running 2 Steel-type Pokemon. So that leaves my Skarmory very weak to his team. So instead, what I need to do is make sure I cover his Azumarill as well as his Medicham. What I was most afraid of was the Venusaur and his counters to my water types, because as you can see, I'm running 3 water types. So what I end up doing this round is I lead Skarmory, because Skarmory will have positive matchups or neutral matchups against Azumarill, Medicham, Venusaur, and Sableye. Anything other than his Steel Pokemon. And then I bring in Medicham to cover those 2 Steel types. I don't have a hard counter to Bronzong, and that's something that I would change in the future if I could, but unfortunately this is the team that I brought in, and I have to stick with it. But anyways, so Skarmory, Medicham, and I bring in Tropius to cover Azumarill, Medicham, Venusaur, and Sableye. Pretty much just a rebuffer of whatever my Skarmory covers. So double flyer. Let's see how I do. Okay, jumping right into the battle. I lead off with Skarmory, he leads off with Medicham. So this is a neutral matchup, but my Skarmory, I believe, hits a buff point. So pretty much what this means is that my Skarmory can take 2 power-up punches and not have to shield, and I can get 2 sky attacks off before Medicham can knock me out. So that means that Medicham will have to burn 2 shields while I burn 0, but Medicham is going to be able to knock out my Skarmory. So as you can see, I take the other power-up punch, and I should be able to get to this sky attack, and yes, I do. And you see me smile just because, like, yes, I barely made it, and Medicham has to burn another shield. Now I'm up 2 shields to 0, and I think now with a shield advantage, I'm just gonna bring in Medicham and try to knock it out. But he gets a charge move off, the first power-up punch. This is a powered-up Medicham, so I get my power-up punch, and I'm hoping to be able to knock him out before he gets another power-up punch. But I don't. He gets a power-up punch right here, and at this point, I've already decided that I'm going to shield up my Medicham and ride this out. So next Pokemon he brings out, Bronzong. So Bronzong is dealing neutral damage to me, and I'm dealing neutral back, but it hurts. It hurts, but luckily my Medicham is powered up. Get that power up punch off. He gets a charge move off right here. It's gonna be a side shock. I decide to shield it up because I don't really have a good answer to Bronzong in Tropius. So I get another power up punch off right here. He has no more shields, so knock him out. He did get one more confusion off on me. Melmetal. Luckily, he had a Melmetal, and I get this power-up punch, and it will knock him out because my Medicham is super powered up. GG.
I think that lead matchup won it for me. Yeah. Otherwise, it was good luck. Alright, so I was able to take first round, first battle, and yeah, on to the second one.
Okay, so getting into this second battle against Kanako, I decide to lead off with Medicham because I'm expecting him to lead off with one of his steel types, seeing as I don't have a hard counter to either one of them, especially Bronzong. He's going to lead off with one of those two, I feel. So lead off with Medicham. I also bring in Skarmory and Tropius. And so pretty much the same thing. Let's see how I do. Alright, so jumping right into the battle, I lead off with Medicham, he leads off with Bronzong. Kind of what I expected, not ideal, definitely, but I'm going to go ahead and deal neutral damage with my counters, and he's dealing neutral damage with his confusion. So both very heavy hitting fast moves. I get my power up punch off to build up my counters. He's going to get a side shock off, and I have to block this because it's going to deal heavy neutral damage to me. I'm going to get my second power up punch off, and he's going to block that one. So now my Medicham is powered up. I'm going to go ahead and switch in my Skarmory to take this charge move. I'm not sure if this was the right move, but I wanted to preserve that shield. He switches into his Melmetal, and I get the Sky Attack off, and it's going to deal not very effective damage to his Melmetal, but some damage nonetheless. So right here, he gets a charge move off, and at this point, I just decide to let my Skarmory faint. And I'm deciding which Pokemon to bring in, trying to wait out that switch clock. Bring in my Medicham back in, and I'm trying to feint him down, but he gets a charge move off, so now I have to burn that shield, unfortunately. Use Rock Slide. I do feint that Melmetal down, and he has one shield with 2 Pokemon left, one of them being the Bronzong. He does send in Medicham, and I do get this Power Up Punch off, and I switch into my Tropius right away. He stays in, and he knows I have no more shields, so he's gonna get this Ice Punch off on me. Super effective damage, and I'm gonna get this Leaf Blade off. Try to bait out that shield and maybe get another Leaf Blade off, and I do bait out that shield, and I get this other Leaf Blade off right here, and this should knock out his Medicham. So now Bronzong versus Tropius, and so I'm trying to get the Leaf Blade. You see that? I overtapped, and that's GG right there. He has a charge move ready for my Medicham, and that's over. Man, that overtap really hurt. Alright, so I wanted to highlight this moment right here where I believe I overtapped. Right here I get my energy, and I used another fast attack. That could have changed my whole tournament. But it is what it is. I need to learn. I have to make sure I get that Leaf Blade, but it's okay. Man, rewatching that kind of really hurts because that one overtap may have costed me a good amount of money because yeah, I didn't anyways, it hurt. So now I have to try to move forward. Kanako and I kind of talked about how that match played out, and a lot of things could have gone differently. If I didn't have to shield that Melmetal, it could have gone differently. If I didn't overtap, it could have gone differently. If I didn't switch in my Skarmory to absorb that Side Shock, it could have gone differently. A lot of things could have gone differently, and that's just the nature of Pokemon Go PvP. Things happen so fast that you can't always predict what's going to happen. You can't just sit there and relax. But anyways, moving on to this last battle, I decide to go with Lapras, Skarmory, and Tropius is what I decide to bring in. The Lapras is actually running Skull Bash. Shout out to Twastel and the guys at Go Stadium. Twastel is one of the main mods in Go Stadium. We kind of talked about Skull Bash Lapras, and it's kind of a coverage move. So even in a negative matchup such as an Azumarill, I can actually win that matchup. So my thought is he might run an Azumarill. If he does, then my Lapras can beat it. It can beat the Venusaur matchup. It will deal significant damage to Bronzong and Melmetal as long as I shield, and so that's why I'm running Lapras in the lead, and I bring in Skarmory and Tropius. Yeah, let's see how I do. Alright, going into this last battle with Kanako in round 3, I lead off with Lapras, he leads off with Sableye, and this is a good matchup for me, I believe, because Surf is dealing tons of neutral damage if he doesn't block it, and Sableye is kind of squishy. I'm getting to those Surfs pretty fast with my Ice Chart, so he does get a charge move off right here. I decide to block it. It's a foul play, but I I need to block it. If it's a power gem, it's going to deal so much damage to me. I get my second surf off, and he decides to block that one. So right now, just matching shields. If I can match shields, I should win this matchup. I decide to shield again. He uses power gem, so that would have knocked me out. I do get another surf off right here, and this will knock out his Sableye. In hindsight, maybe I should have charged up a little bit more, but he sends out Bronzong, and I do get another surf off right here. So charging up a little bit extra energy may not have mattered that much, and I just decide to let my Lapras faint right here. Oh, actually, maybe it would have mattered because I was almost to another surf. Now I send out my Skarmory because Tropius will deal like no damage to anything steel. So Skarmory is my best option and hope that I have a positive matchup in the back. I don't really have much to counter a Bronzong, right? Like, I guess Azumarill would be the closest thing I have. So I get this Sky Attack off on Bronzong. I do miss like 4 or 5 bubbles, so I'm not sure if that cost me the battle. Oh, we'll see. So he gets another charge move off right here, Psyshock. I do decide to feint him down with fast attacks. Go ahead and get the Sky Attack off on Melmetal. Melmetal is going to be resisting, and I switch instantly to Tropius to try to prevent him from farming up my Skarmory. He does use a Rock Slide, and I just take it. Now Leaf Blade is going to be dealing not very effective damage, but I have to try something. He gets another charge move off right here, and it's all but over because my Skarmory is pretty much dead right there. GG.
GG. Oh, any other Pokemon almost?
Yeah, probably.
Other than, yeah, any other Pokemon, I feel like I could have.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe not Azumarill.
I'm not running Ice Beam on my Azumarill.
I'm not either.
Yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't have beaten your Tropius.
I mean, it was good battles.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's going to end part 1 of my Regionals Mirror Tournament in Modesto. As you guys just saw from that last battle, or that last round, it's very important to learn the mechanics of Pokemon Go PvP, because if you want to compete at the highest level, one under tap would have made all the difference in that round and would have placed me at 3-0 in a good position to place very high in the tournament. But it is what it is. It happens in Pokemon Go PvP where unexpected things happen and you just have to move on from it. But if you haven't already done so, please make sure you subscribe to keep up to date with any new content that I may come out with. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that thumbs up to help me out and like this video. But part 2 should be coming out pretty soon, and stay tuned for that. That's pretty much it. Until next time, guys, this is Bestinwest. I'll catch you guys later.